Summer of 1968, an amateur fossil collector, William J. Meister, made the discovery of a lifetime 43 miles west of Delta, Utah. To his surprise, he found a fossilized human footprint. But what's even more strange is that, well, it's not just a footprint. It was a shoe print, a modern shoe print with a heel about the size of a US 13 shoe. Now, finding a shoe fossil, okay, that's not all that uncommon because, well, our ancestors had shoes, but this particular fossil is that of the shoe stepping on a trilobite. And if you don't know, trilobites were small marine invertebrates and they're related to crabs and shrimps. And what makes this incredibly important is that, well, trilobites only existed between 260 to 600 million years ago. Now that goes against a lot of textbooks because currently researchers believe humans emerged 1 million or 2 million years ago and really only began wearing shoes a few thousand years ago. Now, as one might expect, this sent shockwaves to the scientific communities with excitement for a new paradigm shift as well as skeptical denial. Now, after discovering the fossil, Meister took the rock to Melvin Cook, a professor of metallurgy at the University of Utah, who suggested he show it to the university's geologists. But according to reports, none of the geologists were willing to examine it. So Meister took it to a local newspaper called the Desert News, and the news of his finding quickly spread around the country. The fossil was presented on March 1st, 1973 in a creation-evolution debate at California State University in Sacramento. The creationist team included Dr. Duane Gish of the Institute for Creation Research and Reverend Boswell of a local Sacramento church. The scientific team consists of Dr. Richard Lemon of the University of California at Berkeley and Dr. G. Ledyard Stebbins of the University of California at Davis. Reportedly at the debate, Reverend Boswell said, "I have here something that pretty much destroys the entire geological column. It has been studied by 3 laboratories around the world and it's been tested and found valid. It represents a footprint that was found at Antelope Springs, Utah while digging for trilobites. The man was digging for trilobites, and these are trilobites here and here embedded. This is a brick mold of a trilobite footprint, of a human footprint with a trilobite in it. The man stepped on a living trilobite, thus burying him in the mud. This particular strata is dated Cambrian, supposedly 500 million years extinct before man arrived on the face of the earth. The interesting thing about this photograph is that there is also heel marks, which would indicate that they were made by modern man. Now, this was not the only time fossil of what looks like a modern shoe has been found. On January 15, 1917, Albert E. Knapp, an employee of the Nevada Mining Company, found a fossil of the heel of a shoe, dated around 225 million years ago. The fossil was found among some loose rocks when he was descending a small hill in the Fisher Canyon in Nevada. The rock was later examined by an expert geologist at the Rockefeller Foundation, where it was confirmed that the rock is undoubtedly limestone from the Triassic period. Also, what was amazing was that the age-old shoe sole print bore a well-made leather stitched by a double row of stitches. And as you can see here, the twists of the threads are clearly visible. This, of course, puzzled researchers because, well, double stitching done with such refined threading, I mean, that's something that wasn't implemented till 1927. The next item in our video, the Zapata footprint, was discovered by a hunter in New Mexico. The hunter was so intrigued by the find that he told his friend, Dr. Don Shockey, who had a strong background in archaeology and anthropology. Dr. Shockey, along with archaeologist Dr. Don Patton, returned to the site and they photographed and analyzed the footprint and determined that the stone the footprint was found in was limestone from the Permian period, some 250 million years ago. Next, this is really cool, the London hammer. This interesting item was found in London, Texas. Yeah, London, Texas, in 1934, when a couple, Mr. and Mrs. Max Hahn, went for a hike along a creek and saw a small rock with a piece of wood sticking out of it. The couple found it peculiar, so they took the rock home. Many years later, Max's son George broke open the rock with a, well, hammer, and he found another hammer. According to analysis, the hammerhead consisted of 97% pure iron, 2% chlorine, and 1% sulfur. And the iron was so pure, it rivals our modern technology today. Also, the rock encasing the hammer was dated to the Ordovician era, more than 400 million years ago. What's more crazy than that is, according to initial measurements, the hammer itself is more than 500 million years old. It's so old that a section of the wood handle has begun to transform into coal. Number 5, the fossil of a finger. According to the journal Science, the oldest human fossil was that of a jawbone discovered in Ethiopia from 2.8 million years ago. But a pretty gross discovery made in a quarry in Texas in the 1980s beats that by about 97 million years. The discovery was that of a fossilized finger, which according to researchers must have been buried in an oxygen-free environment because that would be the only way for soft tissue to fossilize. The finger fossil was x-rayed, which revealed what appeared to be bones and bone marrow. Although researchers can't say for certain which species the finger belonged to, they don't believe it belonged to primates. The fossil was found in Cretaceous rock, which means it is around 100 million years old. And finally, a 500,000-year-old spark plug. According to the show In Search Of, hosted by Leonard Nimoy, in Olancha, California, 3 people went searching for geodes for their gem shop. The geodes they collected didn't really seem out of the ordinary, but when they got back to the shop and was attempting to cut them open, one of the geodes broke their diamond saw blade. Within the geode, they found what looked like some sort of modern device. In the outer layer of the device was encrusted with fossil shells and 2 metal objects that resembled a nail and a washer. The inner layer of the device was decomposing copper, which surrounded a porcelain cylinder. The geode that the device was encased in was analyzed by a geologist and said to be around 500,000 years old. The device was also x-rayed, and that's where it got even more intriguing because researchers saw what looked like some sort of a tiny spring or helix. There has been many theories as to what the device was, with the most popular one being that it was very similar to a modern-day spark plug, as the internal mechanisms seem to match.